Some moments on live television are unforgettable. No scripts, no warnings, just fate playing out in real time. The spotlight has become a witness to countless tragedies. From sudden collapses to tragic accidents, these 30 lives ended while the cameras were still rolling. These aren't scenes from a movie. They're real, and they left millions in shock. Join us as we reveal 30 performers and actors whose final moments unfolded right before the audience. Number 1. Dimebag Darrell. Darrell Lance Abbott, known by his stage name Dimebag Darrell, was a guitarist whose sound shook the world of heavy metal. He helped form two powerful bands, Pantera and Damage Plan, alongside his brother, Vinnie Paul. Dimebag became a true icon in the metal scene, and many considered him one of the greatest guitarists to ever play heavy music. However, on December 8, 2004, the crowd at Alrosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio, that came to see Damage Plan perform, witnessed something else. The band had just started their set when something terrible happened. A disturbed man named Nathan Gale ran onto the stage with a gun. He fired several times at Dimebag as fans watched in horror. The music stopped in an instant. Dimebag gave up right there on stage, at just 38 years old. His demise shook the music world to its core. After his passing, thousands of fans came to his public memorial. People lined up to say goodbye, and famous musicians showed deep respect for the guitarist they loved and admired. Gene Simmons donated a Kiss-themed coffin for the burial, and Eddie Van Halen gave something deeply personal, which was his original black and yellow Bumblebee guitar from 1979. That guitar had appeared on the back cover of Van Halen's second album and was a symbol of rock history. Dimebag had met Eddie not long before he passed and had asked for a replica. Instead, Eddie gave him the original for eternity. It was a gift only a true legend could receive. Number 2. Owen Hart. Owen Hart was a skilled wrestler known for his athletic ability and sense of humor. He came from the famous Hart wrestling family in Canada and worked for several wrestling promotions. On May 23, 1999, Owen was set to perform a stunt at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in Kansas City, Missouri. As part of his character's comedic entrance, he was supposed to be lowered from the rafters into the ring. The plan was for him to pretend to be tangled up, then drop clumsily onto the mat for laughs. But something went terribly wrong. The quick-release mechanism he wore gave way too early, and he fell 78 feet down. He landed chest first on the top rope, close to the corner of the ring. The audience, expecting a show, witnessed a nightmare. Medics rushed to help him, and he was taken to Truman Medical Center. Despite their efforts, Owen succumbed to his injuries. The fall had caused serious internal bleeding, and the impact had torn his aorta. He was just 34 years old. It was a loss that haunted the wrestling world for years to come. Number 3. Julian Arnold. Julian Arnold was a respected Canadian stage actor who brought passion and depth to every role. He was known for his work with the Shakespeare Company Free Will Players, and his presence on stage always left a strong impression. On November 24, 2024, he was performing in A Christmas Carol at Edmonton's Citadel Theatre. He played both Marley and Mr. Fezziwig in the beloved holiday production. The audience was enjoying the show when the unexpected happened. Julian suffered a medical emergency right in the middle of the performance. Paramedics arrived quickly and tried again and again to save his life. Sadly, their efforts were not enough. Julian was pronounced gone at the theater. He was 60 years old. The audience, cast, and crew were left in shock. A man who had spent his life bringing stories to life passed doing what he loved most, performing on stage. His sudden passing left a deep void in the theater community. Number 4. Judge Dredd. Alexander Minto Hughes, better known as Judge Dredd, stood out in the world of reggae and ska, not just for his music, but for the daring way he expressed himself. As the first white artist to have a reggae hit in Jamaica, he broke boundaries with ease. His songs were filled with sensitive lyrics and double meanings that pushed limits. Because of this, the BBC banned more of his songs than from any other artist. He gave everything to his music, right up until the very end. On March 13, 1998, Judge Dredd finished a performance at Penny Theatre in Canterbury. As he walked off the stage, he suffered a heart attack and collapsed. At first, the audience thought it was part of the show, but one off-duty paramedic in the crowd saw the truth. He rushed to help, trying to save the performer's life. Judge Dredd was quickly taken to Kent and Canterbury Hospital, but it was too late. He was gone. By the time he passed, he had sold millions of albums, becoming second only to Bob Marley in reggae sales in the United Kingdom during the 70s. Number 5. Mango. In Italy, Mango lived and sang with a voice that didn't sound like anyone else. His real name was Giuseppe Mango, but everyone knew him simply as Mango. He blended styles like pop, rock, folk, and world music into something unique and emotional. With his wide vocal range, he reached people in a way that felt personal. His most famous song, Oro, from the album Odissea, became a powerful moment in Italian music. He was respected not only for his talent, but for being an artist who changed the sound of Italian pop. On the night of December 7, 2014, Mango was performing that same beloved song, Oro, in Policoro. While singing, he suddenly raised his arm and softly apologized to the crowd. Then, with another movement, he collapsed. Everything stopped. He was carried off stage, and the show was canceled. His heart had failed, and he never made it to the hospital. He passed away that night at the age of 60. It felt like heartbreak had moved through the music industry, leaving a silence that was hard to accept. Number 6. Ruby Perez. Ruby Perez from the Dominican was known for his time with Wilfrido Vargas's orchestra and his ability to reach astonishing notes. He was called the highest voice of merengue. But unfortunately, April 8, 2025 would be his last performance. While on stage at the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo with his daughter and her husband, the roof suddenly collapsed. Ruby gave up on the spot, just 1 month after turning 69. His music had filled hearts, and his final show ended in tragedy, but his legacy still lives on. Number 7. Richard Lee Versal. Richard Lee Versal spent much of his life building a name in the world of classical music. He was an American tenor, known first for singing in concerts and oratorios, although he didn't make his operatic debut until the age of 45. His big moment at the Metropolitan Opera came on December 8, 1978. That night, he performed a small role in Aida, singing as the messenger. It was a brief part, but it marked his entry into one of the world's most prestigious opera houses. He continued to grow from there, becoming known across Europe for his powerful performances. Soon he established himself as a serious force in the opera world. Despite his late start, Versal became a respected figure in international opera, but his career ended in the most unexpected and tragic way. On January 5, 1996, he returned to the Metropolitan Opera to perform in Janacek's The Makropoulos Case. It was the first time the opera was being performed there, and it was sung in English. Versal was playing Vitek, a law clerk. Early in the performance, while standing halfway up a tall ladder on stage, he sang the words, "You can only live so long." In an instant, he suffered a heart attack and collapsed to the stage. At first, the audience thought it was part of the show, but soon it became clear something was wrong. The general manager had to pull the fire alarm to clear the theater. Versal was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced gone on arrival. His final moment happened right in the spotlight. Number 8. Red Fox. Red Fox was another entertainer known for his bold, edgy comedy and his iconic role in Sanford and Son. Fox had spent years making people laugh, often pretending to clutch his chest in fake heart attacks as part of his act. On October 11, 1991, he was at work on a new TV show called The Royal Family. During rehearsals, there was tension. A producer had just pulled him away from an interview, insisting he rehearse a scene where he had no lines. Frustrated, Fox went ahead and walked across the set as directed. Then, suddenly, he dropped to the floor. At first, nobody panicked. People assumed it was one of his trademark comedy bits. But as the seconds passed and he didn't move, it became clear something was terribly wrong. Co-star Della Reese rushed to his side and heard him call out for his wife. Paramedics arrived and managed to revive him for a short time. He was taken to the hospital, but a few hours later, he was gone. The irony of a man famous for faking heart attacks dying of a real one during a comedy scene was not lost on anyone. Number 9. David Olney. Then there was David Olney, a folk singer known for his soft, thoughtful songs. On January 18, 2020, during a music festival in Florida, he sat on stage with his guitar, surrounded by fellow musicians. He was performing in front of a live audience, just as he had done for years. In the middle of his third song, he quietly stopped. According to fellow musician Scott Miller, who was accompanying Olney, he whispered, "I'm sorry," lowered his head, and didn't move again. He didn't fall. He didn't make a sound. His guitar stayed in his hands. It was a peaceful end, silent and sudden, almost like a wind. He passed away doing what he loved, leaving behind a stunned audience and fellow artists who would never forget that moment. Number 10. Irma Bule. Irma Bule was known in Indonesia for her unusual and daring performances. She brought something different to the stage with her: snakes. Her shows mixed music and danger, and she often performed with large reptiles like pythons, boas, and even king cobras. In the village of Karawang, West Java, one of her performances turned fatal. It was the evening of April 3, 2016, and the crowd had gathered to see her do what she was famous for. This time, her companion on stage was a king cobra named Rayanti. People believed the cobra had been defanged. That was something Irma often did with snakes used in her acts. But on this night, something had gone terribly wrong. During her second song, as the crowd danced and watched, Irma accidentally stepped on the snake's tail. In a flash, the cobra struck. Its fangs went deep into her thigh. At first, no one fully understood how serious it was. She didn't stop performing immediately. She kept going, trying to carry on as if nothing had happened. That was something performers like her often did: keep the show going. But things changed quickly. About 45 minutes later, her body started reacting. She began to vomit. She lost control of her movements. Seizures took over, and she collapsed. Some reports said she was offered an antidote, but she turned it down, perhaps thinking she could handle it. She never made it. By the time she reached the hospital, she was gone. The bite from Rianti had taken her life. She was just trying to entertain, as she had done many times before. But this time, the danger became real. Number 11. Pero Aguayo Jr. Pedro Aguayo Ramirez, better known in the ring as Pero Aguayo Jr., had followed in the footsteps of his legendary father. He had built a strong name for himself in Mexican wrestling, thrilling crowds with high-energy performances and fierce matches. On March 20, 2015, in Tijuana, Baja California, Aguayo entered the ring for what was supposed to be another exciting night. He teamed up with Manik in a tag match against Rey Mysterio Jr. and Extreme Tiger. During the match, Mysterio used a head scissors move that was meant to throw Aguayo toward the ropes to set up for another move. But Aguayo fell out of the ring unexpectedly, then he climbed back in. Mysterio continued the match and hit Aguayo with a drop kick aimed at his shoulder to set him up again. Aguayo landed on the middle rope, a position that looked normal in a wrestling match. Many thought he was playing the role, just selling the move as part of the act. But Aguayo wasn't acting. He wasn't moving. Manik, his teammate, even tried to shake him awake. As the match continued, it slowly became clear that something was not right. Mysterio himself paused and called for help. Medical staff rushed to the ring, and Aguayo was taken out and brought to a nearby hospital. The news hit hard. Aguayo was pronounced gone the next day. He was only 35 years old. The first reports said he had suffered a broken neck, likely from the force of the drop kick and the awkward landing that followed. The final cause of his demise was a cervical stroke caused by fractured vertebrae that led to cardiac arrest. Number 12. Patrick Sherry. Then there was Patrick Sherry, the wild and passionate frontman of the UK rock band Bad Beat. He had spent years as a part of the music scene in Bradford and West Yorkshire. Sherry wasn't just a singer, he was a performer who gave everything on stage. On July 20th, 2005, at a Club NME show in Leeds, his band had stepped in last minute to fill a spot at the Warehouse Club. The energy was high. Sherry gave the audience all he had. As the show reached its climax, he climbed up a lighting rig, which wasn't unusual in rock performances. But this time, his leap ended in disaster. He jumped and landed head first. The fall caused fatal head injuries. His skull was fractured beyond repair. He passed away there while the music still blasted. His brother Brendan, also a member of the band, witnessed it all. The crowd had seen him transform into a different person on stage, full of life and energy. That night, it cost him his life. His death went into the Guinness Book of World Records as the first fatal stage dive by a musician. He left the way he lived, boldly, without holding back. Number 13. Joan Sainz Garcia. Joana Sainz Garcia was a rising star in Spain. Born in Madrid, she had grown into a gifted singer, a skilled dancer, and a talented songwriter. As the lead dancer and head choreographer for the Super Hollywood Orchestra, Joana brought energy and excitement to every show. The group became known all over Spain for their colorful, high-energy performances that combined music, dance, and explosive special effects. Crowds loved the sparks, lights, and fireworks that lit up the stage as Joana moved with stunning precision. On the night of September 1st, 2019, Joana took the stage at a music festival in Las Berlanas. The event had drawn a crowd of more than 1,000 people. They had come to enjoy music, lights, and the thrilling performance that Joana and her group had prepared. As always, Joana was giving it her all, dancing with power and confidence. The audience was cheering, caught up in the excitement. But in a moment, things went south. One of the pyrotechnic devices placed near the stage malfunctioned. A faulty cartridge exploded, sending a powerful burst straight toward Joana. It struck her in the stomach. She collapsed instantly, unconscious. The crowd gasped, frozen in shock. Her fellow performers rushed to her side, trying to help her. The music stopped as panic replaced the applause. Joana was rushed to the nearest hospital, but it was too late. She was pronounced gone shortly after arrival. She had passed away doing what she enjoyed doing. The loss was sudden, painful, and tragic. Number 14. Bruce Hampton. Bruce Hampton, a legendary figure in the American music scene, had spent decades shaping the sound of Southern rock, fusion, and jam bands in Atlanta, Georgia. Known for his wild creativity and deep influence on younger artists, Bruce had built a legacy rooted in experimentation and passion. He didn't just play music, he lived it. His 70th birthday was a grand celebration of his life, with a concert full of fellow musicians and friends. During the encore, as sang, Bruce suddenly collapsed on stage. But at first, no one reacted. Bruce had often joked around during performances. He had pretended to fall before, playing tricks on his audience and bandmates. People thought it was just another bit of fun from a man known for surprises. But this time was different. He lay motionless, his arm draped over a monitor as the band played on. The guitar solo kept going, unaware that something was truly wrong. Minutes passed before anyone realized it wasn't a joke. Bruce was taken off stage and rushed to a hospital in Atlanta. He passed away soon after, leaving a moment that had gone from joyful to tragic in seconds. Number 15. Dawn Brancheau. Dawn Brancheau had spent 15 years working closely with orcas at SeaWorld Orlando. She was experienced, strong, and completely dedicated. She had helped lead the popular Shamu show, and she had become one of the most recognizable faces of the park. Her bond with the orcas, especially Tilikum, the largest one, seemed deep and trusting. But the dangers of working with such powerful animals were always present, even if they were hidden behind years of training and routine. On February 24, 2010, during a special Dine with Shamu show, Dawn was performing beside Tilikum in front of an audience. At the end of the show, she knelt by the orca, stroking his head for a job well done. Suddenly, he pulled her into the water. Witnesses saw it happen in a flash. Some thought he had grabbed her ponytail. Others said it was her arm. Once in the water, she had no chance. Tilikum moved with frightening speed, dragging her beneath the surface. Trainers on the scene tried everything to help, throwing food, using nets, calling the orca. But nothing worked. For nearly an hour, they struggled to get control. Finally, they managed to guide Tilikum into a smaller pool where he let go of her. But by then, it was too late. The autopsy showed severe injuries. Dawn had drowned and suffered intense trauma. Her scalp was torn, her arm was missing, and her spine had been broken. After her passing, no trainer ever swam with an orca at SeaWorld again. Number 16. Fat Man Scoop. Isaac Freeman, III, widely known as Fat Man Scoop, had a voice that was instantly recognizable, raw, booming, and full of energy. Whenever his voice dropped into a track, the tempo lifted and the energy rose. He knew how to get a crowd moving, but that powerful voice fell silent too soon. On August 30, 2024, during a live performance in Hamden, Connecticut, Freeman suddenly collapsed on stage. There was confusion at first, but then panic set in. CPR was done quickly, and he was rushed to a nearby hospital. Fans held their breath, but by the next day, the heartbreaking news came. He had passed away at the age of 56. The cause was natural, though tragic. His heart had failed due to hypertensive heart disease and atherosclerosis. He was gone, just like that, during the very thing he loved doing most, performing. His energy may have stopped, but the sound of his voice still echoes in clubs and radios all around the world. Number 17. MCDALESTE. Another life in music cut short was that of Daniel Pedreira Senna Pellegrin, known to fans as MC Deleste. He was a strong and rising name in the Brazilian funk scene. Coming from São Paulo, Deleste started writing and recording in 2009. From the beginning, he brought stories and rhythms that people connected with. His songs were raw and real. His first hit, Pedra da Exaltação, brought him into the spotlight and gave him the kind of fame that felt promising, not forced. On July 6, 2013, he stood in front of a crowd in Campinas, singing with his usual energy. But in a terrible and sudden moment, he was fired in the abdomen during the show. There was chaos, screaming, confusion. He was rushed to the hospital in Paulínia, but his injuries were too severe. He passed away in the early hours of the next day, at just years old. Deleste became one of many Brazilian funk artists lost to violence. His demise was shocking, but sadly not unusual in a scene that had grown more dangerous. Number 18. Brandon Lee. The story of Brandon Lee adds a completely different kind of heartbreak. He had the look of a star, the charm of his famous father Bruce Lee, and a growing reputation as a serious actor. He didn't rely on his father's fame. He earned his own place. In the early 1990s, he was on the rise, and then came the role that would have launched him into stardom. He was cast as Eric Draven in The Crow, a dark supernatural action film. It was his big chance, and he gave it everything. But during filming, tragedy struck in a way no one could have predicted. On March 31, 1993, Brandon was filming a scene where his character walks into a room and gets fired by a group of thugs. The prop gun was a real revolver, and earlier in production, it had been loaded with dummy rounds to make the gun look real on camera. The dummy rounds were made from real bullets that had the gunpowder removed. But someone forgot to take out the primer. One of those bullets had gotten stuck in the barrel, something called a squib load. During the scene, the dummy rounds were replaced with blanks, which are meant to be safe. But because the bullet from before was still in the barrel, when the blank was fired, it pushed the stuck bullet out with brutal force. Brandon was hit in the abdomen. At first, no one realized what had happened. He fell backward the way he was supposed to. When the director called cut and Brandon didn't move, people started to worry. One of the crew members checked on him and saw that something was very wrong. He wasn't joking. Paramedics rushed Brandon to the hospital in Wilmington, North Carolina. For 6 long hours, doctors worked to save him, but the damage was too great. He passed away later that same day at just 28 years old. His demise was ruled an accident caused by carelessness on set. His performance in The Crow was later completed using stand-ins and digital effects, and the film was released carrying with it the weight of loss and tragedy. Number 19. Barbara Weldons. Barbara Weldons had a voice that echoed with emotion. She was a French singer-songwriter, deeply influenced by the old-style French chanson tradition. Often, she performed with a small group. Barbara Hamadi played the piano and Marion Diakes played the violin. Together, their music created something powerful. Weldons loved performing barefoot, feeling the stage under her feet as she sang until one summer night in July 2017, when she was performing in a church in Gourdon, in the southwest of France. The show was part of a festival, and the audience was fully engaged, caught in the spell of her voice. But around midnight, tragedy struck. In the middle of her performance, she suddenly collapsed on stage, leaving the crowd stunned. Moments later, she was pronounced gone. She was only 35 years old. The cause was cardiac arrest, and an autopsy later revealed the heartbreaking truth. She had been electrocuted. Her bare foot had touched faulty electrical equipment on stage. What was meant to be a night of music and passion turned into a tragedy that remained in the memories of everyone present. Number 20. Ian Cognito. Paul John Barbieri, better known as Ian Cognito, was a different kind of performer. He wasn't soft or gentle. He was wild, bold, and unpredictable. He made people laugh in ways that made them uncomfortable. He was banned from many venues, yet he remained one of the most respected performers in British comedy. His act was loud, aggressive, and full of risk. He lived for the stage. Then on April 11, 2019, he was doing what he did best, making people laugh. Cognito was on stage at a small club in Bicester. That night, during his set, he sat down and leaned back in his chair. For 5 minutes, people thought it was all part of the act, but he never got up. He had suffered a sudden aortic dissection. Just moments before, he had joked about having a stroke. No one knew the joke would turn into reality. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. He left like he had predicted, right in front of his audience. Number 21. Stephen Irwin. Stephen Irwin was a man whose love for wildlife was terrifying. Known as the crocodile hunter, he brought wild animals into people's homes through television. He had grown up with crocodiles, thanks to his father, and spent his life educating others about nature. In 2006, while filming in Australia's Great Barrier Reef, a stingray pierced his chest. It was sudden and fatal. His demise left fans saddened. He was buried in a private ceremony at Australia Zoo, the place he had built and loved. Number 22. Kenneth Keith. Kenneth Keith Stedman was a young American actor who appeared in both films and television. From a young age, he was drawn to the world of acting, and he worked hard to find a place in the industry. His efforts eventually paid off when he landed a role in the television series Sliders, where he played a character named Cutter. But just as his career was beginning to take shape, everything came to a sudden end. During the filming of the episode titled Desert Storm, a serious accident took his life. The production was taking place near Victorville, California. During a break between takes, Stedman was asked to move a dune buggy to the next shooting location. It was a routine task, not part of the actual filming. As he drove the vehicle, something unexpected happened. The dune buggy overturned, crushing him underneath. He gave up instantly. He was only 27 years old. His parents later said the accident could have been avoided, and their grief was made worse by the belief that their son's untimely end didn't have to happen. Number 23. Giuseppe Sinopoli. Giuseppe Sinopoli was another life cut short, though in very different circumstances. He was a world-famous Italian conductor and composer. On April 20, 2001, while leading a performance of Verdi's Aida in Berlin, Sinopoli suffered a heart attack in front of a live audience. The night was meant to be special. It was a tribute to the opera house's late director and a symbol of healing. Instead, it turned into a sorrowful night. Sinopoli was rushed to the German Heart Center but gave up the next day. His tragic passing came just 2 days before he was to receive a degree in archaeology, something he had deeply cared about. His funeral in Rome was a grand affair, attended by high-ranking officials and leading figures in the music world. Since 2005, a yearly festival in Taormina has honored his memory, celebrating his many talents, not just as a musician, but as an intellectual and a scholar. Number 24. Kosta Titch. Kosta Titch, a rising South African music star, had also just begun to shine when fate struck. Known for his amapiano music and dance, Kosta had worked hard to rise in the industry. During a performance at the Ultra South Africa Music Festival on March 11, 2023, he suddenly collapsed on stage. He got up and tried to continue, but collapsed again and gave up. He was only 28. A post-mortem revealed that stress, exhaustion, and a heart condition had caused a fatal seizure during the show. Number 25. Butch Laswell. Sherman Dwayne. Butch Laswell was a fearless American stunt performer who pushed the limits of motorcycle jumping. He made a name for himself in the early 1980s, showing the world just how far a man could fly on 2 wheels. One of his earliest achievements came in 1981, when he broke the world long-distance jump record. It was a huge moment for him, and it marked the beginning of a full-time career where he focused completely on performing stunts that most people would never dare to try. Butch kept raising the bar, determined to make every jump more exciting and more extreme. That drive led him to a devastating accident on March 10, 1996, outside the Oasis Hotel and Casino in Mesquite, Nevada. Laswell planned to jump over a pedestrian bridge that stood 38 feet tall. He raced up a steep ramp on a powerful Honda CR500, ready to break his own record. But the weather wasn't on his side. Strong crosswinds hit him mid-air, pushing him off course. His speed was too high, and the wind shifted him away from the landing ramp. He missed it completely. He dropped straight down from a height of 65 feet, crashing hard onto the concrete. Witnesses said he tried to steer his bike away from the crowd at the last second, possibly saving lives while losing his own. The impact crushed his trachea and shattered his skull and chest. The entire crash was caught on film by a camera crew filming the stunt live. Paramedics rushed him away, transferring him to a helicopter, but Laswell gave up in the air on the way to Las Vegas. Number 26. Jane Little. Jane Little was just as dedicated to her passion. She played the double bass for the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra and never walked away from it. She started performing as a teenager and never stopped, earning the Guinness World Record for the longest career with a single orchestra. On May 15, 2016, while playing There's No Business Like Show Business during a concert, she collapsed on stage. She was rushed to the hospital but couldn't be saved. She passed away at the age of 87, still holding her place in the orchestra until the very end. Number 27. Mitsuharu Misawa. Mitsuharu Misawa was a legend in Japanese professional wrestling. Known for his toughness and skill, he became one of the sport's most respected figures. But the same style that made him famous also brought terrible risk. On June 13, 2019, during a match in Hiroshima, Misawa took a powerful back suplex. He didn't get up. The referee stopped the fight immediately. medical staff rushed to his side, trying to revive him with CPR and a defibrillator. He was taken to the hospital, but it was too late. Misawa was declared dead at 46 years old. The injury had broken his neck, separating two vertebrae. His career ended with the same intensity that defined it. Number 28. Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim, whose real name was Herbert Boutros Khoury, was a unique figure in American music. With his ukulele and high-pitched voice, he became an unforgettable presence in pop culture. But he wasn't just a performer, he was also deeply passionate about old music, acting as a kind of musical historian. In his final years, Tiny Tim's health was already under serious threat. On November 30th, 1996, he was booked to perform at a benefit event in Minneapolis. Despite feeling unwell, he pushed forward. He didn't want to cancel or disappoint anyone. The audience had mostly thinned out by the time he reached the final song of the night, his famous Tiptoe Through the Tulips. But even with only a few people watching, he gave it his all. In the middle of the song, he collapsed. His wife, who was nearby, tried to help him back to their table, but he was too weak. He lost consciousness and never woke up again. Emergency responders tried to save him, but after several attempts, he was pronounced dead at the Hennepin County Medical Center. Number 29. M.N. Vijayan. In India, a man named M.N. Vijayan was known for his voice, not through music, but through powerful speeches and writings. Widely respected for his strong beliefs and sharp intellect, he had become a leading figure in Kerala's cultural and political landscape. On October 3, 2007, during a press conference at the Thrissur Press Club, he suffered a sudden and fatal heart attack. Though he was taken to a nearby hospital, he passed away the same day at age 77. Number 30. Franco Scoglio. On October 3, 2005, in Italy, football manager Franco Scoglio was speaking on live television in Genoa. In the middle of a passionate debate, he suddenly collapsed while still seated. His heart gave out. Minutes later, he was gone. A man who lived for football passed away while speaking about it. Years later, his home city of Messina honored him by renaming their stadium after him, making sure his name lived on in the world he loved. All the people had lost their lives in an unexpected way while doing what they knew best. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.